Welcome to another episode of Curator's Chronicles, where history takes flight and stories soar. I'm your host and curator, Christian Gurling, and I'm thrilled to bring you a special interview with the talented actor Duke Stroud. You might remember him as Air Boss Johnson in the iconic film Top Gun. That's right, he's the guy standing in the tower at Miramar Naval Air Station when Maverick, played by Tom Cruise, does that unforgettable flyby, causing Johnson to spill coffee all over himself. Duke Stroud's character doesn't just stop there. He famously chews out Commander Mike Metcalf, known as Viper, and Lieutenant Commander Rick Heatherly, or Jester, before running into a sailor carrying drinks as he leaves their office. And let's not forget, he's also in one of the final scenes where Maverick and Iceman buzz the control tower on the aircraft carrier, causing yet another coffee spill. Duke Stroud is a well-known movie and television actor, and today he's here to share some fun and behind-the-scenes stories from the set of Top Gun, filmed back in 1985. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the conversation. Can you tell me a little bit about how you got into the entertainment business?
My father flew the China Clippers for Pan American, and my mother was a theater major at Northwestern.
Oh,
and he was
okay.
an acting teacher, and so that started. And I was as I tell people, I was a redhead with freckles. And so you fought or made them laugh, and I chose the latter.
Sure, yeah. No,
So I was into that stuff all the time. So I sang and danced on television in high school at a show called Coke Time U.S.A. and had fun doing that, although I was an athlete, so I couldn't do theater because I was a pretty good athlete and went into play in college also. And so that was, went to college and just majored in theater. And then I'm a professor of theater. I have 2 master's degrees. And I've taught stand-up comedy, and I taught acting, and directed 100 and some plays also.
wow. And what was the first actual film that you were in?
That Girl was my first film. That was a TV series called That Girl with Marlo Thomas.
Mm-hmm. Wow, fantastic.
Yeah, beating the Mission Impossible,
Mm-hmm.
where I was a guest star on Mission Impossible.
Wow. And can you, obviously with all the Top Gun hype now, everybody wants to know, and can you tell me a little bit about the role of Air Boss Johnson and how that came about?
Well, of course, there was something in the script about it. So I was actually coming back from Mexico, crossing the border, and my agent said, "Can you stop at San Diego and audition for this movie called Top Gun?" I said, "Sure." So I went in there, read the script, and then later on they called me and they said, "We'd like to hire you for that." And I said, "Who's in it?" And they said, "Tom Cruise." I said, "I don't know who he is." They said, "The guy with the shorts and the white socks, risky business." I said, "Oh, yeah, okay." And I said, "Yeah, well, let me know. I'll think about it." And then they said, "Well, you're going to get to go on the aircraft carrier." And I said, "Oh, I take it no matter what. I got you. You got me."
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of fun.
Do you remember what it was like when you first read the script for it? I mean, did it seem interesting? Did it seem like something you'd be interested in at all, or?
Well, it was fun. You don't read the whole script. They just give you a couple of scenes to read to see if they like you. So they didn't give me a script till after I got cast.
Okay.
So it was kind of fun though when I got it. When I was flying out, they flew us out to land on the Enterprise, and I'm looking at this little dot in the ocean. I go, "You're actually going to land me there on purpose?" So we flew down and landed on the aircraft carrier. It was kind of exciting.
That would be really exciting, actually. That's one thing I've never had the opportunity to do in my life yet.
Yeah, very much fun. Yeah.
So the scene where the F-14 flies by the tower in Top Gun, I mean, one of the most iconic scenes in aviation moviedom, and you, of course, spill the coffee all over yourself. I assume that was done in one take, or did you do multiple takes of that? And
we did multiple takes on that one. The other one was one take. That was one we did about 2 maybe or 3. just in case, because you got to get the boat to go right. But then they said they'd like to try another one, and the military said, "Well, that's going to cost you, a couple $100,000 in gas." And they said, "Oh, I think we have it."
So, yeah, that's why I thought it might have been just one take, given the cost of flying those F-14s back then.
Of course, the F-14 they could do it with sound effects because they only do a close-up of me spilling it.
Mm-hmm. Sure.
They have the font where they fly by, and I'm doing nothing but looking clever and smart with my coffee in my hand. And then they did a close-up of me spilling it where I did my vulgarity. So, yeah. I had a couple of shirts that I could put on when they were stained, and just change shirts.
Sure.
That was okay.
Was there anything in the way of rehearsals ahead of time? Did Tony Scott come up to you and say, you need to look like this or be doing this at this particular time, or did he have an idea, or were you given sort of free reign to what you were going to do for that particular scene?
Well, a little bit of free reign. I knew where the camera was. An interesting story when we were on the boat. The air boss, is a really tough guy, which is I played. So I met the real air boss up there in the tower, and when planes are in the air boss is the head of the admiral. He runs the whole thing he's in charge of the whole thing because airplanes are up there. So we were shooting the scene, getting ready to shoot the scene, and the air boss went down to the bathroom. When he came back, they put cameras up blocking his entrance into the cabin. And he went absolutely ballistic. I'm going to call this goddamn shoot off. That's the end of this whole thing. You masked me from getting there. There's planes in the air, and I've got to do this, that, and the other. And they were all just nervous as hell, Tony Scott, too. And I looked at him, and I said, "Oh, thank you." I said, "Thank you so much. God, I didn't know what my character was going to be like, but you just showed me exactly how I'm going to act this scene. And I really want to thank you." And he kind of smiled and looked sort of smart. And Tony Scott gave me a thumbs up and whispered, "Thank you." And so we went on with our shoot. It was kind of fun.
Oh, that's fantastic. That's such a great story.
Yeah.
So the scene where your character kind of chews out Viper and Jester after this flyby, I think you had intimated at some point that some of this might have been ad-libbed. Was this particular scene in the script at all, or did you invent some of this on the fly? Mm-hmm.
Well, it was in the scene, of course, me chewing him out and then coming out and running into the guy. After I left, though, the other stuff, that goddamn it, that's twice and all that stuff, just came out of my mouth, and I hit that guy. When I found out you found out who he was. Mm-hmm. The sailor I hit was a real sailor.
Right.
So I hit him, and all that just came out. Goddamn, that's twice. And when I walked off, all that screaming just came out of my mouth. Mm-hmm. And then we tried to do a second scene, but we couldn't do it because the guy was too scared. Because I almost knocked him over, as you know, spilling the coffee. So he couldn't do it again. He was so nervous he kept trying to duck whenever I came out of the door. So we said, "We got it," and that was the end of that one.
So in one of the final scenes in the movie, of course you're in a tower on the aircraft carrier, and what particular carrier was this on? Was this on the Enterprise as well?
Yeah, it was on. That's the only thing I was on. We were on there about a week and a half. It was kind of fun.
Okay.
And it's very interesting. And I was an Army officer, so I knew how to behave. So I had my uniform, and I walked all over the boat because I knew how to behave like an officer because I was one. Mm-hmm. So it was very interesting down in the day rooms. It was kind of interesting there because they're sitting there watching a movie in the day room, and then was also the screen of the landings going on next to the other movie, the TV screens. And the guy would come in and miss the cable and take off again. And they miss the second time. They go, "Oh, that guy's in trouble. He's scared shitless now because he's missed twice. He's going to get his ass chewed out." Mm-hmm. So they were watching that more than they watched the TV shows they were watching. It was kind of fun. Mm-hmm. The other guys, the other actors were, of course, much younger than I was, and it was fresh off their heads to walk around, and they were in awe, kind of, and they sometimes showed up a little late because they were so busy looking around the boat. But so that was kind of fun with those guys. They were all fun and interesting to watch. But the funny thing is, none of that would really happen, because as fast as those planes go on board that ship, you couldn't hardly even hear that plane when it came flying by. So it wouldn't have really caused me to butt coffee, but everybody would believe that. You probably don't want to pass that one on because it makes the movie not as real. But anyway.
So the scene at the end where you spill the coffee on yourself, it's because there was theoretically two F-14s that flew by. Were you actually up in the tower when the two F-14s flew by?
Oh yeah.
And you must have. I mean, you must have felt that, though. I mean, there must have been a little bit of a concussion when two F-14s.
No, not very much, because they're not going quite as fast as it looks like. They fly really fast to a camera, but they're going over the airstrip, and so it wasn't as noisy as you'd think it would be. But it was fun to watch. So I got to because of that, because as Top Gun was so popular. All of a sudden, half the people that enrolled in the Navy were because of Top Gun. So I got to go up to the Top Gun school when they moved up to the Fresno area, and what's it called? Miramar? No, that's where it was, the original. And so they all guys wanted to see me, and I go up there and get to fly the mock planes against them. Of course, I didn't do well at all, but that was kind of fun, because they all wanted me to come up to the graduation of the Top Gun classes. That was fun. Oh
yeah. Oh, I know. I can imagine it. Yeah. In the order of filming the scenes that you appeared in for Top Gun, which one of those scenes was shot first?
They actually did it in order, because we shot Miramar first, and then we were on the boat. So because of that, it was easy to film just in sequence.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we filmed at Miramar, then we went out to the boat, and those were the two shots in the boat up there. And it's interesting. My house is 5 blocks from the house where Tom Cruise filmed with his girlfriend there.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah, they just opened it in a hotel right near me.
Okay.
I'm half a mile from the Top Gun house that they've redone.
Small world. Gee, small world.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance on set to interact with the other actors much? Tom Skerritt, Tom Cruise and the like, and.
Well, Cruise a little bit, but not. The other guys weren't in the scene with me really, except they'll do something. Whoever the commander was now? I can't think of his name. Skerritt, is it?
Tom Skerritt, yes.
I get to interact with him just a little bit, but mainly I just was interacting with the officers on board the ship, walking around with them and having. But the thing that was interesting, the guy that sort of waves the flags, on the landing of the boats, the planes, the guy that has the flag going up and down. Sure. They don't do that anymore on camera. But I didn't realize is he's the one of the top pilots on the boat. Period.
Huh. Interesting.
Because he everything they're going to do, and he knows how that plane should react. So that's why he's signaling them. I thought he was just a guy telling them where their wings were going when I watch movies, but it was really he's the top pilot, knowledge pilot on the ship.
Sure.
And that was kind of, and he'd go down to the day room and yell at people and give them shit. But I was there when some people went wrong. My air boss guy, he would look down at, they all have different colors on, the guys that are running on the deck down there. And the air boss knew every one of them almost, who they were, and he yelled down at them and tell them what to do with the speaker system. But then a guy missed the thing, the wire that goes up to catch him. And about 3 times, and he was called up to the day room, and he came in, and the guy just chewed his ass out. It was really wild. That plane is worth $100 million, and you're not worth that goddamn shit. You ever do that again, you're going to be grounded forever. So.
Wow. Yeah. Well,
another thing, I don't know what kind of things you want to write about, but the air boss is pissed off because the other guy became the air commander, which means he gets to fly. The air boss, that's the end of his flying career, technically. So he has to wind up going back to the Pentagon. So he's not a happy camper, which is why they're all pissed off.
Yeah.
So the two guys, he was a top commander, I would guess, and then the other guy's a top commander, and one became the commander of the wing, and the other guy has to become the air boss. So it's kind of intriguing.
Sure. Do you recall what the mood on the set was like? Was there and was there a sense of how big Top Gun would become at the time?
Not at all. Not really. No. But it's pretty good, because they were all young and nice guys and pretty good actors, most of them. So it was all very light and fluffy. It was kind of not fluffy. That's not the right word. It was fun. They were all having quite a bit of fun because it was, it's a plaything almost. Airplanes coming by and boats and cars and all that stuff. So in that respect, it's pretty good. And of course, the director, Scott, was sort of new. I think that's his first movie. He'd done commercials, but that was the first movie. So he was a little nervous twit, kind of a little bit, and wanted to get everything right because, of course, his brother was very famous. So anyway, that was sort of interesting. So it was kind of light, and at least all the scenes I was involved in.
Mm-hmm. So he wasn't too stringent as a director, and he gave you a little bit of freedom.
He's pretty good. And it seems like he and his brother get along very well with the crews and everything, because he had done a lot of commercials. That was they were both famous for that too.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Now, do people, after the film and everybody, and the movie's fresh in everybody's minds, and you're going around living your daily life, and did people recognize you as your character?
Some people did. Well, first, it lasted about 5 or 6 years. But now, when people find out, I wind up signing autographs and doing all kinds of crap because people find out. So I don't know how somebody tells them sometimes, and so I still get a huge reaction. It's amazing how that film is still just amazing. And you get the residuals, and that movie still runs and runs and runs. And everybody likes to watch it. People watch it 8 or 9, 10 times. And I always get a nice check from them because that's the best thing that ever happened to me in that movie. Because that was, 86, 87. I still get checks twice a year, 3 times a year from Top Gun.
Jeez, that's fantastic.
Yeah. Because I get sometimes, I've got checks for a penny. I've got checks for 3 cents for movies I've done. That run somewhere, and they send me a penny. They've actually written a check. There's a bar it used to be called Residuals in Van Nuys. Not Van Nuys, Studio City. And if you bring in your residual check, it was a penny or something, sign it, and you got a drink for it. That's fun.
Yeah, that seems like a lot of work to write a check out for 3 cents.
Yeah. I framed that one. Yeah, it's kind of. But these are other movies I've done, and so it's funny because they don't run as much. But and they run overseas somewhere. Oh, of course, this pandemic caused a lot more people to stay home and watch TV. So some of the other stuff have brought in a little bit more money, which is interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
stuff that I've done 25, 30 years ago, and all of a sudden it's running on some station somewhere. I went, oh my God, I forgot I did that.
How many total films have you done?
I don't know. I really don't know. Not too many. I'm 16 or 17. I did more. I've done 300 and some commercials, and I was a regular on Another World in New York, and I did General Hospital, and so I did a lot of TV, more TV than films. But it's been a pretty good fun career.
Were you ever approached to be in the new Top Gun at all?
Mm-hmm. No, not at all. I sent him because I did a movie with Barbara Streisand's husband. What's his name? Yeah. Anyway, so we did that thing, and I was an admiral in a white costume, and they actually asked me to spill coffee, which was funny. So I spilled coffee on, so I sent the casting directors of the Top Gun Maverick a picture of me and my admiral uniform in white, and I said that Redneck Johnson is not happy that Maverick's back on the ship because white coffee doesn't look good on white, and they never responded. So that was my effort to get on the show.
Oh, you never. Well, I guess I guess Kelly McGillis didn't even get asked either to come back. So.
No.
Did you?
Anyway, that was.
Did you get a chance to see the new movie? Mm.
Why would I do that? Yeah, of course I did.
What'd you think of it? I mean, with you acting in the first one aside, what did you think of it relative to the first one? Mm.
It was a very excellent film. It was really, really good. A very positive sort of movie where the heroes are heroes, and it's old-fashioned in that sense. I didn't think the fighting scenes were quite as good as the original because they were just going down that canyon and stuff, and it wasn't as much plane versus plane, which is much more fun. But they don't do that anymore. So it was about the other kind of planes, the ones that they fly without people. So, but I thought the drones, yeah, but it was. I thought it was done very well.
Yeah, I was just reading that it's made over $1 billion now, which is it's incredible to think about.
Yeah. Mm. Of course, they don't want to put it on TV yet, because I understand what I heard is that Tom Cruise only gets money from the theaters. He gets a dollar. He gets it from the first dollar sold for the whole time it runs in movie theaters. Mm-hmm. And he gets less, of course, from TV. So that's why he wasn't going to. That's why he never released it like everybody else did for TV.
Mm-hmm. So you said you did have some interaction with Tom Cruise on set. What was your opinion of him as a person?
He seemed like a nice guy. He had a little bit of a temper tantrum sometime when they didn't. He had a favorite uniform, and it was funny. If he didn't get that uniform, he got sort of angry because he didn't like to wear the other ones. I don't know how you could tell the difference, but it was sort of interesting. But he seemed, he was just a young guy was, enjoying, what he was doing. He was fine. And it was easy to get along with, so he was fine.
So do you?
And of course, the older kids were really, just professionals.
Sure.
Fun.
Yeah. No, because there was a lot of different actors, a lot of different personalities. I mean, and that must be a little challenging on the set of a film for everything to go smoothly, everybody to get along, and for these massive egos not to clash.
Yeah. There didn't seem to be too many egos. I think because, as I said, it was kind of fun being on the ship and doing all that stuff and being around airplanes and doing all the stuff that, when young kids grow up, have fantasies about that, and all of a sudden these guys are early 20s and mid 20s, and all of a sudden they're having their childhood fantasies come to real, because being in the military, all that stuff is kind of fun.
Mm-hmm. Were any of the actors given an opportunity to, like, you said you had the opportunity to land on the Enterprise there. Were any of the other actors that of given the opportunity to fly in the F-14s or any of the other aircraft?
I don't think so, but I think they did on this new one. I'm sure Tom Cruise flew in it, and some other people maybe, but not that I know of. We flew in on a prop plane. Mm-hmm. And we landed on the ship, and we took off. And it's funny, when you take off, it goes down, almost down to the ocean when you have a prop plane, because it's not flying, it doesn't get pushed as hard. Mm-hmm. But the other thing, just as I don't know if people know this, but each one of those cables that come up to catch the plane, mm-hmm. they're all for a specific plane, so they're not all alike. So when a certain plane's landing, they have to get the right one up to catch it. And then there's a smaller one for a smaller plane that comes up to catch it, or a slower plane. So it's really, I was fascinated with that difference, because I assumed they were all the same.
Yeah, I didn't know that either. I just would assumed that they would have all been the same too, actually.
Yeah, but they have different ones. You can see there's 5 or 6 in a row, but that there's 4 or 5 apart when the thing goes up. And so the ones in the middle are for different size planes and different powerful planes. So that was interesting to me. Things you find out.
Yeah, that would make sense, I guess, because I've talked to several F-14 pilots. They talk about landing on the carriers. How you're supposed to hit like the third wire. So that would make sense that they're trying to hit a particular wire given the weight of the airplane.
Yeah, they have a couple further on in case they miss it, but they can still catch it. Otherwise, then they got to grab that handle, and when they land, they pull it to full speed. Kind of, I'll tell you more than I know. So that if they miss it, they can take. All of a sudden, they got power to get back up, so they can come back again.
Sure.
Which is the guys who got all. Yeah. So that was it was fun walking around with all those guys. So I spent more time with them than I did with the actors, as I told you.
I mean, the ships are so huge. I mean, did you have somebody guiding you around the ship so you knew where to go, or were you just kind
of? A couple of commanders and stuff walking me around, and it was kind of fun. Not commanders, I outranked them in my uniform. But they took me down there. The pilot that was the one I said that was an expert, that instead of that guy waving it, they actually have a TV there watching them, and he talks to them as they come in. The guy that used flags in the World War II ships, but that guy walked me around and took me into the day rooms and stuff where the guys were all sitting.
Were you ever, since you were in your Air Boss gear, was there at any point, where you were walking around the ship where people mistook you actually for being in the Navy, some young sailor maybe?
Yeah, that's why I said I knew how to behave. So they saluted me, and I'd say, "At ease, as you were," and walk on.
That's a funny inside joke, knowing that those guys never knew, or maybe found out later about it.
So anyway, it was overall a great experience. It was much more fun than most of the movies I did because there was things to do all the time. Like usually, you get in a movie, you fly up to Colorado or somewhere, and you sit in in a wagon for 3 and 4 hours, and finally they call you to go on the set. You don't get to wander around as much, but here it was things were going on all the time. And I was a major character for that. Than being up in the tower, I could watch for hours. The boats going on, the planes taking off, and the guys yelling and screaming down below it. It was really a kind of a fun experience. It was an event, shall we say?
And how long was that all shot? For instance, like in a day?
Well, shot. No, we were. Mine was about 2 or 3 days at least, because I was on the ship for over a week. And we went to Mexico and back up to Monterey and back to Mexico. And that thing really hauls butt, It's amazing how fast that goes. When the planes are landing, they go at a certain speed. They have to go into the wind and all that. So it's an elaborate process. That's why they cut some of the stuff short, because they had to pay for the gas, as I recall. But you could probably find out more about that than I. I'm only passing on what I heard. And they say, well, it's going to cost you a lot more money because we got to turn the ship around and, for you to be able to land those planes again. So they said, I think we have it.
Yeah. So. Well, I know that we have an F-14 here at the museum, and it was in the first Top Gun as well in the final sequence. In fact, the very last missile shot was our F-14, but it actually appears like it fires 2 missiles in the final scene, but what they did is that very last shot, and they used an earlier missile shot, but then just reversed the image, more than likely because of cost, and or the Navy or the Paramount was only given a certain number of missiles that they were able to fire.
I would imagine, yeah.
So it was kind of a.
Well, I'm sure, but the Navy was probably had mixed feelings about what was going on, but they were shocked at how much it recruited for them. I mean, they had everybody trying to get into the Navy because of that movie later on. So the Navy was happier now they kept postponing. You know, they were going to do that. They were going to do a second Top Gun, and instead he did that race car thing. You know, Tom Cruise.
Oh yeah, Days of Thunder. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think they were going to. My character, supposedly, from the rumor, was going to become a major character in the next one, but it kept getting postponed till I became an antique.
Oh, geez, yeah. No, it's just, well.
I told the guys that they should do is have Arlington and have a graveyard with my name on it and have Tom Cruise pour coffee on it.
Oh, that would have been really funny, actually.
Yeah,
that would have been.
I saw that. You know, we were having fun with all the things they should have done.
Thank you so much, Duke, for joining us today. I have to say, it was an absolute pleasure to have you on Curator's Chronicles. I really enjoyed hearing your wonderful and enlightening stories from the set of Top Gun, where you really brought Air Boss Johnson to life. Your insights and memories made for a fantastic episode. Thank you again.